We could start off just telling me a little bit about what the ICC does, who do you represent, and what are your aims?
Sure. The ICC is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, business organizations. We've been around for 91 years. We're headquartered in Paris, but in reality we have representation in 120 countries. In terms of who we represent, we like to think we represent the global business community. We don't just have members who are not just multinational enterprises, but also small and medium-sized enterprises from all sectors and from all areas. So really we feel that we represent, as close as can possibly be represented, the global business community.
I mean, do you think it's fair to say that in the wider world, in the media perhaps, there's a perception that business pollutes, that business isn't perhaps as much on board the green development theme as it should be? I mean, if that's the case, what is being done to overcome that perception?
Well, I think that's always a challenge, and it's true that the business sector is not a monolith. There are many different things that are being done from all parts and in all countries, but I've heard that before, I've heard that question a number of times, but in reality, just look at the actions of the business community, and what you see here, what you will see here in Rio is, it's the business community that's leading. I would actually argue that it's oftentimes the business community is, on terms of sustainability, is actually ahead of the governments. We're actually not locked in brackets over a particular text or a particular clause in a thing. We're actually doing business because companies have to survive. And not all of them potentially, but a majority of them have not just integrated sustainability, but they've seen the opportunity that sustainability can bring to their business. And I see that all the time in talking to our members really all over the world.
I think that's interesting that there are opportunities within the realms of sustainable development. I mean, what more can be done? I mean, is business generally aware of the fact that there is money to be made, that there are profits to be made out of sustainable development?
I think there increasingly are aware of that fact, but I think I would take it one step further than just sustainable development. I think the way to mainstream sustainability or sustainable development is to integrate all the factors, and that's a little bit of what we try to do in our green economy roadmap, where we look at the three pillars of sustainable development, which are environment, economic, and social. And when you bring those together, in other words, you develop products and services that bring green technologies or environmental benefits, but also lead to social improvements and also are economically viable. That is absolutely fundamental.
Do you have the right political framework, do you feel, in which to encourage, to develop sustainable development?
Well, I think that's one of the challenges, and really you're looking at where is the framework or the forum that can lead or can push sustainability. Hopefully Rio here, the negotiations, the discussions that have happened for over the last 2 years can bring some momentum to that process. If not, potentially we have to look at other venues in other areas. One of them is the G20. We have to remember we're also having a meeting in Los Cabos this next weekend, where the business community, represented by ICC and others, are there in a present and active voice, meeting with heads of state and pushing the green growth agenda among other issues as well. So I don't know if we have the framework yet. I think it's something that we have to continue and to push. I think one thing that governments need to do is to kind of come together. There's not one answer to this, but can come together and try to at least push forward the agenda a little bit, and that's what Rio should try to do.
I mean, you're not just working at big forums like this one in Rio. You're working, around the year, around the clock, basically, to enhance the sustainable development. What else is being done? What do you do? What do these conferences bring to the project, bring to the debate?
Well, I'm actually very glad you asked that question, because I actually think it's more interesting what you do beyond these kind of conferences and debates. I've been a bit of a veteran of some of these. I was in Copenhagen, and we just spoke of Cancun and Durban and things like that. But the reality is that business is doing business already, regardless of this. And I think for the ICC, an opportunity that we're exploring and that we're pushing forward is the idea of bringing some of these solutions, integrating some of these green solutions, if you will, like our green economy roadmap, with the small and medium-sized enterprises. Chambers of commerce are actually represent the engines of growth in many, many countries all over the world, and are populated not just by big multinationals. In fact, are populated by mom and pop stores, which are the majority of innovators, of jobs, creators, which are so important now in the context of the crisis. One of the projects that we will be undergoing post-Rio, which is not really necessarily related to Rio, is helping SMEs through the World Chamber Federation network that we hold, lead to sustainability or drive sustainability. And I think that's fundamental, because if we don't bring it all along the line of business, if we just talk it's just a couple of multinationals that can maybe, or so-called progressive companies that can push, then in the end we're not really solving the problem.
And the Green Economy Roadmap, what is it and why the need for one?
Well, the need for one arose really out of the discussions that were being contemplated to take place around the green economy. About 2 years ago, we heard that the Rio Summit was announced. There was also the work of the UN Environment Program on their green economy initiative, and so we felt that the private sector really needed to decide or to come together and say, what does the green economy mean for them? So we created a task force of about 90 to 100 some odd members from, I think it's about 50 countries all over the world, to really meet constantly and say, what is a green economy? And so the end result of that work, and we went through all sorts of permutations and from all sorts of countries, is this roadmap. And it's really a guide that's not just for business. It's meant to be for policymakers, but also for civil society, that'll really shape what does it mean what is a green economy and how do we get there as well. One also addendum to the roadmap, and something we're going to launch here at this event this afternoon, is a call for collaboration. Because a fundamental point of the green economy or the roadmap is that you can't arrive to a green economy. Business can't do it by itself. Government certainly can't do it by itself, and neither can civil society. So we have to collaborate. Even if it's not perfect, we have to collaborate. And today we will launch a call for collaborations based on the roadmap.